Hey guys, this is Anastasia, and this is my 6th video for Vlog Till the Light of the Year. Tonight I wanted to share with you a cleansing smudge that I had just made this past weekend to help with cleansing a theater in the Twin Cities area with my friend. And I really like the purpose behind it, so I'm actually going to use it in my home as well. Usually if I create an incense for a specific place or for a specific person, I will use it. And if I have anything left over, I will return it to nature in some way, shape, or form as an offering and a thanking for the inspiration and the creativity to come up with it. If that makes sense without sounding too narcissistic, because that's never my intent. But I thought I would share with you, and this one, the purpose behind it, and I hadn't named it yet. I think I'm going to name it the Positive Guardian Smudge, because the purpose behind it was to cleanse, exercise any negativity, and then add protection. But then I put in an ingredient, for lack of a better phrase, for each element as well. So it became a 13 item blend. For cleansing, I have sweetgrass, sage, and yerba santa. All of those are really great for spiritual cleansing and purification. Yerba santa also helps with vision quests or spirit quests, so that might be something if you're looking for a good meditation herb to use for incense. That might be something to look into. For the exorcism area, I used basil, blue cohosh, and mandrake root. For protection, I used cinnamon, nettle, and St. John's wort. For some reason, it was very important for me to use 3 items that corresponded with fire for protection. I really connected to the idea of fire being the protectorant in this. A lot of the cleansing that we did last night was, for me, it came down to what I call beacon work, where I want this candle to really be a beacon to illuminate all of the darkness and dispel it and to cast it out. That is the way of cleansing. That was the form of cleansing that I took for this specific case. That's what kind of came to me. That's what resonated. In this case, it was kind of interesting because there was an energy that needed to be cleansed. It needed to be released. It needed to move on. And there was another energy there that was very positive, and it was very lovely. And it needed nourishment. It needed cultivating. It needed bolstering. There's the word I'm looking for. I find I'm talking in threes a lot lately. I'm going to have to work on that. Sorry. But it needed bolstering. It needed a little bit of oomph. And when I got there, I realized it wasn't necessarily that it needed a whole lot of oomph. It was just because it had been kind of protecting the rest of the theater from this negativity from spreading, it had kind of been spread throughout this larger room, and it needed to be reconnected. It needed to come into one form, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know that it was an entity. I think the negative energy, I believe, was, but the positive energy, I don't know that it was a true entity in my mind. It seemed more like an energy that needed to become concentrated. And to connect with it, I did definitely visualize it in a certain manner, but it didn't connect to me as though it were an actual entity. It was much more of an energy that I just visualized into a certain form. But it really made sense to be in that form too, so who knows, maybe it just didn't speak to me or connect to me the way entities usually do. So with that said, the point for that part of it, I had made a positivity candle to act as a beacon for that energy to kind of come to and find strength within that flame. Didn't quite work out that way, because an interesting thing, when I found that the energy was kind of scattered throughout the room, I quickly made the decision to do a ritual pulling the energy out of the four quarters, going through the elements and pulling the positive energy in the room from the west. So asking the water elementals to aid me with that. Then going to the south and asking the fire elementals. And funny thing about fire, if it has energy, aka power, really doesn't always like to give it up. And last night it was like, no, I don't want you taking any of my of this power. This is in our quadrant. This is what we want. And it took a little bit of prodding, and we pulled. I was able to pull that energy, and then air, we were able to pull that. And then when I got to earth, the energy there was already, that was kind of the quadrant I was working in. So the energy was already kind of focused. It just needed to join. So the earth element became envisioning this energy becoming one again and healing and growing together and being nourished and being complete. And the issue I ran into was when I was pulling the energy from that fire, my candle went out, and the protection candle that was helping my friend with the actual banishment and cleansing in the other room was starting to flicker and looked like it was going to go out. So I took the wax and poured it into my positivity candle, thus completely, it was useless at that point. The wick was completely smothered by the other wax. It's just donezo. So at that point, I kind of had to get creative with how I was going to do this. But the envisioning of earth wrapping around this energy and kind of hardening it and focusing it, it really did work. And it really was awesome to me, because it was like, holy cow, I completely used my intuition on this. I completely kind of went and said, whatever energies are out there to help me with this tonight, y'all need to talk to me, because I am not entirely sure how to work this. And then later today, when I was planning this video of sharing the smudge that I had made, it hit me that I had added positivity to this. So the idea was it would cleanse, it would exercise, and then it would add protection and help to bolster that positive energy. Because in my tarot reading, kind of trying to guess the scenario, there was a very positive card and a very positive energy, despite the opposing negative energy. And my friend also did a tarot reading actually in the space, and he found the same thing. There were these two kind of energies, and I wanted to represent that in the smudge. So hindsight being what it is, it points to the fact that the pulling from the elements was really the right thing to do. Because when I added the positivity for this, I went to each of the elements and put in something that was for positivity. Normally when I do something where I add an herb or an ingredient or something for the elements, it's for protection. I look to the earth to give strength and stability. I look to the air to help with cleansing and renewal. I look to fire to sear away and illuminate any darkness. I look to water again for cleansing and to wash over and kind of wash away any negative energy. So for that purpose, I like working with the elements in a protection base. But for some reason, when I kind of looked at it, I'm like, nope, the protection has to be fire. Just fire, fire, fire. That is what I'm feeling. That is what it needs to be. And then when it came to, I still want the elements to be present, but I'm going to focus on peace, and positivity. And it's odd that not only did I put this in the incense that I made a couple of nights before this cleansing and before I even knew what I was going to do or what the situation was. Honestly, my friend didn't even tell me that this was what he wanted me to do until later that night. So as far as focusing on the positive energy, so I really had no clue that that was going to be my bit. I just knew, given his tarot reading and my tarot reading, I wanted positivity to be included in it. But the fact that I did assign it to the elements, and then when I did do the ritual to help bolster and connect this positivity into one concentrated guardian of sorts, it was calling upon the elements to aid me with the collection of that energy and to rebuild and reconcentrate it. Really kind of threw me. And it really, things like this, if this happens to anyone else, I'm sure it does a million times over. But when that happens to me, at least, because again, I can only really speak for myself, it kind of is a wake-up call that, hey, yeah, trust your intuition, check. Because sometimes this is how you are supposed to do it. And there are powers and energies pulling you in the right direction, even if you don't necessarily understand it or know why, or even realize you're doing it. So yeah, that was really cool for me. And the elemental offerings of peace and positivity were mugwort, lavender, rue, and sandalwood. And then to bind it, I bound it with dragon's blood oil. There we go, not Blagan's blood. Dragon's blood oil, as well as amber oil. Dragon's blood, I think, is just extremely protective. Again, it's that fire element. And then amber oil, which is also fire element, but it's healing, and it is about positivity. It repels negativity and pulls in the positive. So that was why I used that. And then I also charged it that night with a hematite, a citrine, and a clear quartz. Hematite, really good for that grounding, and it also helps to repel negativity. Citrine, again, you don't ever have to cleanse it. It just is a stone of absolute positivity and light. And clear quartz helps to amplify all powers. So I liked that. And then, and so that's what I did. And this is what it looks like afterwards. I used red sandalwood as opposed to yellow powdered sandalwood that I've used in the past. Again, it's what the shop had, but I really liked it for this because, again, it helps to add that kind of fiery element, even though it is connected to water. Otherwise, it looks... I like to comment on the looks very much. It looks very Beltane to me. It looks very fresh. It looks very nature-based. It looks... And I realize that's a stupid way of describing it, because of course it's nature-based. It's from nature. But it looks green. It looks just so cleansing and all about renewal and growth and all that good juju. And I think when you smudge or when you cleanse an area or an item even, that's kind of the feeling you want. You want those feelings. I'm sorry, the camera is shaking. My hands are just garbage tonight. You want that sense of renewal. You want that sense of freshness. You want that sense of spring. And life being given to the land, washing over the old, getting rid of the stagnation. And that's another thing. I do want to caution, when you are smudging, I feel like there's a lot of times when people smudge or cleanse, they think they are getting rid of an entity. I have found that to be very rarely the case. I smudge every new moon. I don't think there are ghosts in my apartment every new moon that I need to get rid of. Have I probably had a few visitors? Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know I've got spirits here all the time because I have spirit guides. I have an ancestor altar. You think they're not hanging out? Of course they are. Um, there are guardian spirits. There are totems. There are all sorts of things kind of all around us. But when I smudge, I'm not getting rid of them. If there's a nasty element, absolutely, I'm getting rid of that sucker. But when I smudge, it's to get rid of the energy. It's to revitalize my home. It's to get rid of stagnation and bring in freshness and rejuvenation. It's, and it also, for me, it is a form of honoring. When it comes to, as I said in the previous video that I did on the new moon, it is a way of honoring my gods and goddesses and kind of thanking them for giving me the dark that I have sometimes, because in that darkness I find that rejuvenation and I find that new beginning and that infinite potential. So to smudge my home every new moon is also an extension of that honoring. So yeah, when I'm talking about saging or smudging my home, it's not that I think there is a ghost that I need to get rid of, so to speak. It simply is a way of cleansing out negativity, which is, I see very much as 9 times out of 10, it's energy. And it's not even bad energy. It's usually just stagnant energy. It's just been here a while and it's time to get it out. It's time to move it out or repurpose it. If it doesn't serve you, get rid of it. Because I also am a believer that darkness and shadows can be there to benefit you. So I'm very careful when I smudge that I am wording things properly. I am banishing any darkness or shadow that is not here to serve, that is not here to help. Those are things that I take very seriously. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I've been talking a lot in this video about entities and spirits and ghosts. I do believe that was what we were dealing with at the theater the other night. At least one of them, I believe, was an entity that needed to be sent on his way. But I don't think when we cleanse or when we smudge that it's always a spirit that we're kind of trailing down. In fact, I think that's pretty rare. But yeah, that is the smudge that I made. I realize I've kind of gone into a bit of a yammering session, but I hope it was interesting. Just for moon info, I created this on the waning crescent when it was in Pisces. It was during one of the dark of the moons, what part of that cycle. The symbol was the lotus and the lily. And it was made on a favorable day of opening of all chakras, day of clear vision and reflection, balance and compassion. You know your higher truth, your past through meditation or in your dreams. And of course, because it was in Pisces, you have heightened emotions and intuition, delve deep into the mystic within. And I think especially the opening of the chakras and being able to see clear with the vision and reflection and balance. All of those are good things to go into a cleansing with, regardless of what it is you're cleansing. Having that clear vision, understanding what you're doing, keeping that clear mind, knowing your higher truth, and balance is so frickin' important. I think that's true in most magic and most spiritual workings. But cleansing especially, I've really, when I cleanse, I really feel like I am connecting to hell so much more because it is about that cycle. I am replacing negative with positive. If you get rid of one, you have to accept the other. And you have to understand that it is a cycle. As I am getting rid of the old energy and welcoming the new energy, I also understand that new energy will, in fact, one day become old energy, and it will also need to be kind of taken out. So yeah, I now that I've rambled for 20 minutes, I'm going to leave it there. Blessed be.